What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Throwback Thursday. DK Show up on the air on your radio dials 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available online at sportstalk1051.com. Stream it up over there. You can download the app, take us on the go. Video streams up and rolling. Facebook, YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe to that YouTube page. And of course, your smart devices, smart speakers, all over the place here. But good morning, and appreciate you making this part of your start of this August. What do we got? August 15th here. What do we got on a good old game plan in case you didn't stay up to watch the game last night? Maybe you shut it off right away. Brewers able to get a come from behind victory against the Dodgers last night. Originally down 3-0 after the first. It looked like it was going to be another rough night for the crew. But especially after the first, when you have bases loaded, nobody out too, and then you can't get any runs after that. It's like, here we go again. But second inning, bottom of the second inning, led off by a Bowers home run right away. Brewers were able to tie it up after the second. Take the lead in the fourth. Dodgers tied it up in the seventh, but then the Brewers adding on a run in the bottom and holding on to get their first victory of this series. And now we'll have a chance to at least split this series later on this afternoon. Jackson Cheerio collecting a couple of hits last night, was on base 3 times, collecting a couple of hits. You had Bryce Terang with a triple. Then it was a weird game last night. It wasn't the crispiest game. It wasn't the cleanest game, especially in the first inning when you have bases loaded and you don't get anybody out. And then the whole, Terang looked like he had a double. Then Ortiz, when he slid in a second, took a step back to first. Then he went to third, but he didn't touch the base. So it was actually regarded as a fielder's choice because he was deeped out. So, I mean, it wasn't all the cleanest, prettiest game last night, but got the win. They got that W last night. So, and a win that they, I think, really, really needed to, just to, kind of collect themselves here and maybe get a little confidence. But just 4 total hits for the crew last night too, but they made the most of it. So they were able to take a few walks and get some extra base runners that way. But as we mentioned, Brewers will try to pick up that series win later this afternoon. And also got to give a shout out to Devin Williams last night too, closing it down. He's gotten a few games under his belt since coming back, but to face 1, 2, 3 in that lineup of Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman, holding on to a 1-run lead, yeah, getting them all out. 1, 2, 3, baby. 1, 2, 3. So that had to feel really good for Devin Williams last night. And thanks again to the Reds here. After the Brewers took care of the Reds, but the Reds taking a little bit of frustration out on the Cardinals, because right now the Brewers hold on to an 8.5 game lead over both the Cardinals, both the Cardinals and the Reds. And this is, in fact, the biggest lead that the Brewers have had all season long. So even with this Dodger series so far, just going 1-2, the Brewers find themselves with their biggest divisional lead at any point this season, 8.5 games. So got that going for us, which is nice. Brewers will throw out Tobias Myers on the mound. Jack Flaherty. It's going to be, at least on paper, it looks like it's going to be a heck of a pitching matchup between these two. Tobias Myers, one of the hottest pitchers since, the month of June. I mean, the dude has been in fuego, on fire right now. And then you look at what Jack has done so far here too in these last couple of games here. In August, he's picked up back-to-back wins. Going back to July, he was 2-0 in 3 games with a 1.53 ERA. So I mean, Jack Flaherty has been pretty darn good throughout the whole season. 9-5 with a 2.97 ERA. So we may have a nice little pitching matchup here. offense is going to be a tough one for. You hope both of these offenses, right? You hope for both these offenses, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll preview this game coming up here in just a little bit and recap last night's come from behind victory. Take a look at that. Plenty of baseball talk throughout this morning. We'll throw a little football chat into this thing. Packers had a practice yesterday, but now they're going to be getting set for some inter-squad practicing or joint practicing with the Denver Broncos ahead of their game on Sunday night here. So, tell you the latest of what happened at practice yesterday. Give you some updates on that and such. So, a couple more players returning. In terms of the NFC North, the Vikings, you won't be seeing J.J. McCarthy at any point this season. He's done after, a couple days ago it was announced that he was going to have meniscus knee surgery, but it's one of those you don't know fully what type of procedure, what type of meniscus procedure you have to get until you get in there. And well, they got in there, and he's going to be done for the whole season. So I know Vikings fans are a little disappointed. I know that Sam Darnold was going to be the guy. It seemed like to start the season, even though McCarthy, it also seemed like he was pushing maybe to get some starting reps, and it sounded like maybe he was going to get some starting reps at practice this week too. So I mean, he was making it difficult on Sam Darnold. He wasn't just going to hand him the starting job. But nonetheless, Vikings fans a little bit down with that news, not being able to see McCarthy, J.J. McCarthy at any point this season. So, but at least they were preparing Sam Darnold to be the starter. Or at least it wasn't like they were going into this full head of steam with McCarthy as a starter and setting everything up, and now they kind of have to regroup. So I mean, at least they had the mindset that Darnold was going to be the starter and such, but still a bummer for a rookie quarterback just after one preseason game. And it was kind of a weird thing, and I want to talk to Dr. Groh about this tomorrow. But it sounds like McCarthy, like the next day, reported some knee soreness, and that's when they found out everything. So I don't know, just kind of it almost reminded me of the Balaga thing when he tore his ACL at family night. Like he felt fine. It was like the next day felt something. So, but we'll hit that up with Dr. Groh coming up tomorrow and such. So we'll throw some football chat in here. We've got some outdoor tidbits with Mr. Jake Boakes coming up at 8:30 this morning. Wisconsin DNR warden Jake Boakes. So we'll chat with him. Any questions for Jake? You have to text us right now up until 8 o'clock on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. 715-830-1912. 715-830-1912. I'm sure some of you maybe have some questions, which you're in the news update about elk hunting. We've got those antlerless tags that are going on sale this week. So, but any other questions, make sure you send those on over so we can get those to Jake coming up at about 8:30 this morning. But like the questions by 8 o'clock in that. So we'll get to that. We'll do a little Throwback Thursday coming up in the next hour. We got some receiver defer also. We always take suggestions for your receiver defer questions. If you got some good ones over there, again, hit us up on the texting line with some good receive or defer questions. All right, maybe we'll select yours and use it for our receiver defer segment. So let's get ready here this morning, though. Okay, let's get things rolling, shall we? Coming up on the leadoff, let's talk some Brewers. Brew Crew picking up a 5-4 victory last night against the Dodgers. Although it didn't start off that great, I'll admit it. Hutzy and I were watching. It was like, oh boy, here we go again. And then bottom of the frame in the first, you don't even get a run across. And the thing is, the frustrating thing is, I think, too, with the Brewers, I mean, they were one of the better teams with runners in scoring position for the most part of the season, especially at the beginning of the season. But not able to get it. Terang thrown out at home. I thought it was blocking at the plate. I don't know if anybody saw it, but I thought it was blocking at the plate. Pat Murphy electing not to challenge it. He said after the game, our replay guys are the best. We're leading the way there. Sandri understands that rule. We've talked through it, and he felt like there wouldn't be enough to overturn it. I trust him. I know the blocking of the plate rule is one of those that is still kind of up in the air. People don't want to fully grasp it. I guess in a football sense, maybe it's like, what is a catch these days? So, but I thought it was. Like a lot of people thought it was blocking at the plate, but who knows? Nonetheless, bases loaded, nobody out, and it turned into a double play there with no runs coming across the board. But Brewers grinded out. They got it going here. Bauers got it going with that solo shot, and Crew able to tie it up after the second and maybe get some confidence back there too. So, but let's talk some more Brewers, all right? Let's talk some more Brewers. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll get the leadoff going here this morning. Join in on the convo. What's on your mind this morning? What do you want to talk about? Let me know. Hit me up with some text, 715-830-1912. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Have you checked out the food at the VFW Post 305 lately? From their taco omelets to their Friday fish fry, the menu at VFW Post 305 has something for everyone. Plus, with their extended kitchen hours, they are now your new go-to place for a meal, good company, good entertainment. 'Cause they got music going on Wednesdays and Saturdays. So the next time you're wondering where you should be doing some breakfast, lunch, or dinner, head on over to the VFW Post 305, located at 1300 Star Avenue in Eau Claire. G-Man, you got to go out there and try the taco omelets. All right, bud? Give me the feedback over there. All right. Sounds good right now, actually, on a little rainy, wet Thursday morning coming at you. So, also, just to kind of get in a little bit of a football season, if you head to our website, sportstalk1051.com, and click on the Fan Cave tab, you can now pre-register for our Pro Football Weekly Pick'em Challenge. Can't make games yet or you can't make picks for games until next week, it looks like. But you can pre-register right now to participate in our very popular Pro Football Weekly Pick'em Challenge. Again, just head to sportstalk1051.com and click on the Fan Cave, and then scroll down on the bottom, and you'll see the icon in there. It's included in the prize dugout and such. So I know we got a little bit till the regular season. Got a couple weeks left until the regular season here, but just a little reminder. Speaking of the regular season too, Friday of the opener for Green Bay, September 6th, we're actually going to be doing the show on the road in honor of Green Bay. Kicking off the season, we're going to be over at Hy-Vee for a little tailgate show. So more details to come on that. So pay attention for that when we get a little bit closer. But that'll be coming up on Friday, September 6th, when Green Bay opens up the season. So, all right. So we'll open up things here this morning. The Brewers with a come from behind a victory last night against the Dodgers. 5-4. Again, the Brewers were down 3-0 after the first, and then bases loaded, nobody out. Brewers not able to get anybody in it at the bottom of the first, but able to tie it up in the second and hold on to a victory 5-4 last night. Devin Williams facing their top three hitters, Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman, and taking care of business with those three. Just 7 pitches was it that it took them to get those guys out. So had to be a big confidence boost for Devin Williams, who's gotten he's gotten a few games into this thing, but nonetheless that had to feel pretty darn good last night for that. So Brewers with a much needed win last night now have a chance to at least split this series later on this afternoon. And with the win, and even though going 1-2 so far in this series, thanks to the Reds taking care of some business against the Cardinals, the Brewers now hold an 8.5 game lead for first place, which is the largest lead that they have ever had at any point so far this season in the division. So 8.5 game lead here as we are approaching the final quarter of the regular season. I believe if you're already doing magic numbers, it's down to 34 games. 34 games for the Brewers to clinch the NL Central division there. Again, reminder that's a combination of wins and losses and all that good stuff over there too. So even with maybe a couple of hiccups here against the Dodgers, the Brewers have actually increased their lead in the division here. So we'll see if they can at least split it. They've got Tobias Myers on the mound here this afternoon. Tobias Myers is going to be going up against Jack Flaherty. Both pitchers are pitching incredibly well. Jack Flaherty, for the most part, all season. Tobias Myers has been one of the top pitchers since the month of June, and he's coming off of another gem of a performance over the weekend on Saturday, where he went 7 1/3, striking out 9 and only giving up 3 hits and no earned runs, no walks for Tobias Myers either. And when you look at his numbers in terms of the walks issued, he doesn't walk a ton of guys. I mean, he's only walked. If we break it down, May he walked 9, but then June in 5 games, a total of 8 guys he walked. In July, the whole month, he only walked 5. He's only walked 1 so far in the month of August. The guy throws a ton of strikes out there. So on paper, at least, it should be a decent pitching matchup, but we'll see which offense is gonna be able to put up some runs over there before he gets wet and heads out to Farm Tech Days. Good morning, intern.
Good morning, and I'll tell you, we've been at Farm Tech Days the last couple of days up there at the Country Fest grounds, Jamie Close Farm there at Cadott on Highway S, and people come in and talk, and for farmers, they'll talk farming first, but then they talk sports. Farmers are probably more attuned to sports than a lot of other people. They'll listen to ball games when they're on the tractor in the combine or whatever it is. And after those first two games against the Dodgers, well, the Brewers are going to dump it. They're going to give it away. They're going to completely fade, different things. I said, what are you talking about? You just said, and I would, as you were talking about this Brewer lead now at 8.5 games, since they've had these divisions set up the way they have been, and I know the Brewers have spent a lot of time over the years in first place, but have they ever had an 8.5 game lead at any point in any season in that division? I would think if they had, there's opportunities were few and far between, because a lot of people are thinking, the Brewers are not going to make it. They are too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know that off the top of my head.
I don't expect you would, but just 8.5, that's a big number.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big, we're into the end of August here, middle of August, and to have an 8.5 game lead has shown that either the division isn't strong or the Brewers are playing that much better baseball. Well, they are, obviously, than the other teams in that division. But again, this is a team that nobody expected to be in this position at this point in time, maybe in the running for the division title, but nobody was going to say back in April, we get to the middle of August, Brewers will be 8 games ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody would have said that, including you and I.
Well, I didn't think they were making the playoffs this year. So
no, it's been a wonderful surprise. And yeah, you get frustrated, like you said. The bottom of the first base is loaded, nobody else. They don't get anybody in. You just come on, you guys. Now that's why you would think they're going to take. And then they win the game. So it's as Yogi used to say, it's not over till it's over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was. I'll admit it. After that first inning, I kind of thought last night was like, here we go again.
I think we
sort
all
of thing.
did. Yeah.
But give them credit. They grinded it out in that second and tied it. And I think maybe that was the momentum switch there. It's like, okay, they got that. They tied it back up. It was a brand new ball game after that. It's like you're restarting after the first couple innings.
And by about that time, I was already in bed or sleeping, dozing off in my chair, so I missed it. So I don't know who the offensive stalwarts were last night to bring them back and to win that game. But this is a chance for these young guys, Terang and Frelick and Mitchell and some of these other guys to, if they're going to be major league players, this is the time when they have to step it up. I mean, if they want to sign these multi-million-dollar contracts, everybody's getting millions. But if they want to get multi-millions, this is when they have to step it up. And, you look at all the guys that have been superstars as they've been young kids. I go all the way back to guys like Pete Rose and Joe Morgan and Tony Gwynn. I mean, they didn't have swoons. And if you're going to be that kind of a player, you can't have a swoon. So these guys, Frelick and the rest of them, they've got to step it up, and they've got to show they've got some intestinal fortitude going down the stretch here, because this could make them a lot of money or could make them journeyman.
And those were actually the players last night that kind of helped the cause last night. Good. Bowers had that solo shot to open up second.
I did see that.
Frelick was on second when Terang hit a triple in the second to score him in. Then Jackson Cheerio shattering his bat, but keeping the ball in play or making. I mean, it was in play. Third baseman made a diving stab at it, but there was no way he was going to throw Cheerio out. So that got the run in from Terang over there. Cheerio collecting a couple hits, was actually on base 3 total times last night for him, for the youngster. Got the Gatorade bath from Willie Adames after the game too. So
and that's good. These young players, I think there's a lot of opportunity. I'm all behind them, because I think these are some potentially great young players, and I think if they can get kind of their get their traction in games like that last night and get their confidence up that we can beat the Dodgers, even if they jump ahead of us. We can beat the Dodgers. We can beat anybody.
And then what was it? And then was it the prettiest game by any stretch later on in the game too? There was a situation where Terang looked like he had a double, but it ended up being credited or changed to a fielder's choice because it was a situation where when Terang hit it, Ortiz slid into second, but he couldn't find the ball. So he kind of took a step back towards first. Then he ran to third without touching second base again.
Uh-huh.
Apparently, Clayton Kershaw was the one who noticed it from the dugout and told Dave Roberts. So they reviewed it. He was out, and so it was a fielder's choice for Bryce Terang. So actually, his batting average went down after because of that there too. So I mean, it wasn't the prettiest. You had stuff like that going on, but I mean, learning moments, I guess, for some of these younger players there.
Well, they learn in a win. That's better. If it would have cost them the game, that kind of a mistake, then it would have been too bad. But yeah, 8.5 games up at August 14th, 15th. What is today? 15th.
Mm-hmm.
Days all running together this week. But again, I'm more than happy with this Brewer team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more than happy with the Chicago Cubs.
Well, the question we were kind of throwing out yesterday, maybe it's kind of a mute point right now, but I was going to. So the question we had yesterday, because after the last couple losses, Pat Murphy after the games kept saying, we're a young team, and talked about how young they were.
Yeah,
and
I heard
going
you guys
through
talking
that.
about this.
And last year there was a lot of Packers fans that got tired of the excuse that they're young. So I'll ask you, is it a legit excuse? 120 games in now, when we go through these lumps, that they're young, or is it not much of an excuse anymore?
I wouldn't use the term excuse.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that you have to realize. This is a young team.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to continue to learn. And until you talk to major leaguers that have been in the league for a long time, if they tell you they ever stop learning, they're lying. So these guys are going to continue to learn. They're going to continue to grow, and some of the growth is going to be through mistakes. And so, I don't know if it's an excuse or rather an explanation, but they are a young team, and we all know that. Maybe he doesn't have to keep bringing it up all the time. But I don't look at it as an excuse. I just think that's the way it is. This is a young team. There's no question about it. You look at the Brewers record and you look at the Dodgers record, look at the difference in the payroll, look at the difference in the years of experience in the league. It is what it is. Mm-hmm. They're a young team.
Mm-hmm.
And but they're awfully good baseball players, and they're only going to get better. And they are going to make some mistakes because of youth. I see veterans make some mistakes. Now, whether that's mistakes of laziness, for lack of a better word, on some of these veterans, but these kids they're a long way from knowing everything they need to know to be great baseball players. I mean, they're very, very, very good. A lot of talent. But they are a young team. That's just the way it is. I don't know if Murphy's using it as an excuse, if some of the media is criticizing him for that.
No, I think it's most. I kind of speculated, is he using it almost to kind of protect his players a little bit?
And that's what a good boss will do. Mm-hmm. That's what a good den leader or scout troop leader. Mm-hmm. You're responsible for these guys.
And that's what's different of a baseball manager, right? You're managing the people.
You brought that up yesterday, and I thought that was a good point you made.
Mm-hmm. It's not like you're just drawing up the X's and O's. You got to manage all these different personalities and different players over there. And I think right now, Pat Murphy's passing with flying colors.
Yeah, and just same thing with Matt LaFleur last year with the Packers. That was a growing season for that team. They were young, and when your leader is that young, and he's been in the league 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it has been for Jordan Love, but he's young as far as experience, and all of a sudden the kid, whatever light went on bright.
Yeah.
And so LaFleur brought him along just right. So I think we're lucky to have LaFleur and Pat Murphy in charge of two very important teams in Wisconsin, but two very young teams in Wisconsin. When you can be that young and that competitive, you have to give your leadership credit.
It's an interesting comparison between the two because, once in a while you'll hear different situations. If you have a young team, it's like, oh, maybe you need a younger coach to relate to the younger players, or something like that. But then you got Pat Murphy, who's not a young spring chicken by any means, but does it help because of all that college experience he had coaching at that? I mean, there's no right or wrong answer with this. It's just two kind of different approaches right there that are both working. Right?
Absolutely.
They're both working.
And they both got different backgrounds. They both have different backgrounds. You know, as you mentioned, Murphy with all that college experience at Notre Dame and different places, and Matt LaFleur coming up through the ranks in pro football. They learn these personalities, you know, and I'm just sitting here thinking the personalities in football players different than personalities in baseball players. I think there are to a certain extent. I think, in my opinion, I think football players have bigger egos, much bigger egos than most baseball players. I mean, you look at all these guys that you know, they want to be in headlines, they want to hold out, they want to do this, that, and the other thing. That doesn't happen in baseball, but I think there's a difference in the personalities of pro football players and pro baseball players. They're all perfectionists and want to do the best and be the best and earn the most. And I don't criticize them or blame them for that, but I think you know, football players like to see their name in headlines.
And I think too that
number 12 is an example.
There's, and I know it's not like this for everybody, but I mean, you know, they were talking about it again last night. Willie Adames, I mean, he doesn't miss a day. He doesn't want to miss a day. And he was asked about, do you ever think about taking a day off? And he said, yeah, when we have an off day, that's when I think about taking a day off. And how many times we like the NBA, load management, right? You know, all that stuff. It's different guys are different breeds. William Contreras is the same way. And that's a catcher, for crying out loud.
What would you say was the percentage in your mind early in May, June, that Willie Adames would be gone by the trade deadline?
I thought he was, before we did some preseason, I thought he was going to be traded.
Yeah.
Just because I didn't think the Brewers were going to be in a playoff position.
Yeah.
And I thought he was going to be traded.
And what percentage or how much do you think he is, I won't say responsible, but a big part of where the Brewers are right now with an 8.5 game lead? Not only performance, but leadership.
That leadership aspect of it, I think he is. If we just focused on players, I think he'd probably be the number one player right now.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you said too, it's not just play, it's the dugout. I mean, he's the guy that's kind of like, it's almost like he's the middle guy between the young guys and the veterans. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, he's the Gatorade guy. You know, he's the first one out there dumping it on Jackson Cheerio or so. He's having fun out in the field. You know, he's kind of like Cheerio, where I don't think you don't see a smile on his face at all.
Yeah.
Keeps everything lights, you know, that sort of stuff. So, yeah, to me, he's that glue guy right now for everybody.
And you've been to a game this year, haven't you? I've been to, I think, 3 or 4. And one thing you notice, after every inning when the Brewers come off the field, who has the ball in their hand?
Willie
Adames. I don't care who makes the third out, whether it's an outfielder, the first baseman, pop up to third or second or wherever it is. Everybody, if it's a strikeout, the catcher throws the ball to Willie Adames. Willie Adames takes that ball and throws it into the stands every inning. If you go to a game, watch that. And it's impressed on me that it's a sign. That's one sign to me, just subtle things that you watch the game. If you go for more than just drinking beer and eating brats, you know, and you watch the game, that is something that I think is subtle, but I think it tells an awful lot about Willie Adames and his status on this team. Every inning when they come off, because every inning that I've been there, the 4 or 5 games that I've been to this year, every inning, he's the one that throws the ball.
So
into the stands.
I think you know my next question then, probably. Because of that, do you give him a big contract?
At this point in time, I would. Because you got a lot of young players that you still got under control for a few years. And I like Ortiz, but he's not Willie Adames yet. Maybe he will be in a couple of years, but I'd give Willie Adames a raise and I'd keep him on this team.
So let's say, because I'm looking at market values for Spot Track right now, and these are just estimates. About 7 years, $25 million a year. It's easy for us to say, but you know, trying to think of Mark Anasio and what he would do, and he's getting sued. So
yeah, I see that for stealing sand off of somebody's beach or some stupid thing. But I wonder how much he paid for that Malibu mansion.
Right.
But anyway, give some of that to your players. How much house do you need? But anyway, that's
go have a beach house on Lake Michigan, right?
Yeah, right. That's a story for another time. But, you know, how much do you value that leadership? How does his offensive, he's one of the best defensive shortstops in the league. I saw him make his first mistake the other day when he threw a ball and cost him a few runs in an inning, had a throwing error, which is hard to believe for him. But how much his offensive numbers and how much the actual leadership of this team and how much you think these guys can grow without Adames, because I think he's a big part of this thing. So I'd be more put him between 20 and 25 million. I would be hesitating to pay him that much. I think he's had more influence. Well, Christian Yelich has been hurt, but even when he's healthy, he's a guy that's kind of, he's a quiet guy. He's a great baseball player. I don't know. We never hear what difference he makes in the locker room working with the young outfielders. So I can't compare he and Adames as far as their leadership value on this team. But I think Willie Adames has had a dramatic effect on this team this year in so many different ways.
And the other approach to this, too, is you think about it, it sure seems like they're not going to have to pay a pitcher a lot of money with some of these youngsters getting. I mean, you look at the next couple of years, Tobias Myers, assuming Robert Gasser is going to be back and to what he's doing. You've got Jacob Mizorowski, who's in AAA, who's they're really excited about too. Freddie Peralta's under contract for a couple of years over there as well. So I mean, you're looking at potentially some young arms that won't cost a whole lot for the next few years.
Receiver defer, would you give Peralta or Adames a big contract?
Well, Peralta signed that one a couple of years ago.
I know, that's what I mean. But
I'd give it to Willie right now.
Yeah.
So.
and Peralta, I love to watch Peralta pitch because he can really bring it. It's just, boy, he puts it in some bad spots once in a while and gets himself in trouble. But what's the status of Woodruff? And if he comes back, is he going to have a big contract? And will he demand a big contract because he's uncertain?
That's the thing. Is
coming back, this is a big injury when you're out this long.
I think. Well, he's under contract for next year.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know if it's an option or not. I have to
Corbin Burns was under contract for this year.
But yeah, I can't see Brandon Woodruff getting, because we still don't know. You're not going to know until he starts throwing and getting out there. So I mean, I'd rather go with the youngsters right now.
Yeah, I think it would.
DL Hall, who knows what, they want him to be a starter too. So
what's the status of Devin Williams' contract?
Devin, I think, has one more year of arbitration. Let me double check here.
Yeah, so he's worth a lot of money. There's no question about that.
Look at how closers are getting paid, though, too.
I know it.
It's that's a lot of money.
He's right up there amongst them, that's for sure. The way he finished that game last night is, I didn't see it, but Otani, Betts, and who else he took out of there in 7 pitches.
He's got a club option for next year at is it $10.5 million? It looks like, and then he's an unrestricted free agent in 2026. So
he'll go from 10 million to 30 million, approximately.
Because he's getting paid $7 million this year, so it'd be about a $3.5 million raise next year. It looks like,
which is good money, but in this modern game, he deserves more.
Yeah. I mean, would you rather have him or Josh Hader right now?
Well, Devin Williams, I haven't.
If he played pitches like he did last night.
I haven't seen Hader at all. I haven't heard anything about Hayward. I don't even know where he's at.
He's with the Astros.
He's with Houston. I don't know how he's doing with Houston or what he's doing, but I'm sure
3.48 ERA,
that's
5
high
and 6.
For him. That's high.
26 saves. So
yeah, that's not good. Well, it's good, but I mean, it's not Hader-like numbers that we were used to when he was with the Brewers. But Devin Williams is pitch for me anytime.
Yeah, Hader had a really rough month of July. He had a 5.23 ERA in July.
I saw a couple of games of highlights where
August he's been really good so far. 0 in 7 games, 0 ERA. So, but yeah, July was pretty darn rough. Because May he was good, 1.35. June's up to 3.38. The net 5.23 in July. So,
that's a big number for him.
Yeah. So, but. All right, we got to take a quick break. By the way, Brandon's mom texted in and said, Bob's right. Rocky got his ball from Willie Adames when they went to a game. So
you just go to a game and see who throws the ball in the stands after every inning. I think everybody defers to Willie.
All right, quick break here. We'll finish up the first hour with some more baseball talk, though. Keep your comments coming. Join in on the conversation. Hit us up 715-830-1912. Quick break. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. 1:10 first pitch this afternoon between the Brew Crew and the Dodgers. Got Tobias Myers on the mound, receiver defer, since you're going to be heading out here soon there, intern receiver defer. Tobias Myers is the starting pitcher you have the most confidence in with the Brewers right now?
I would think so. Yeah, he is. I think a lot of others, like you were saying earlier, a lot of them have potential, and it's just a matter of growing into the game.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
I think Tobias Myers has been doing a nice job for the Brewers, and they've got a lot of contributions from a lot of people that we did not expect. And I think that's why the beginning of the year, and you said earlier, I didn't expect the Brewers to be where they are, but they've got contributions, positive contributions from so many of these young guys. And really and truly, I would think the Brewers have one of the most optimistic futures because of all the young players that are just going to grow in the game, and Tobias Myers is one of those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the best pitchers since the month of June and in all of Major League Baseball. I mean, him and Paul Skeens have just kind of been lighting it up all across Major League Baseball here, and he's coming off of a fantastic performance. Didn't get credit with the win. It was that pitching duel back on Saturday when Rhys Hoskins hit that go-ahead home run in the eighth there. But
1-0. You don't have many games like that.
no, not at all. So, but he's coming off that, and that's we talked about it a little bit earlier. Tobias Myers, all he does is throw strikes. It seems like too.
Yeah.
Doesn't get behind a whole lot of counts. Doesn't issue a lot of free walks over there too. You know, going back a couple days ago when they lost to Kershaw, Pat Murphy kind of alluded to maybe some of the younger guys were a little bit of awe because a lot of those guys. Well, here you go, rookie. You got Otani, you got Mookie, you got Freddie Freeman.
But he's going out with a reputation that you just came out. Reputation. He throws a lot of strikes.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a hitter, you're going up there thinking he's throwing strikes, so I'm ready to swing. And as this kid learns how to throw that slider, down and away, and some of those pitches, with the reputation you come in that's throwing strikes, it's a whole lot better than reputation of coming in while the guy throws a lot of balls, he has a lot of walks. This way these hitters are ready, and you can, kind of tease them a little bit. I think this kid's got a lot of room to grow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt about it. So he's definitely been there's been a lot of nice surprises, but I think he's been one of the biggest surprises so far this year. Where would this team be without him every 5 days in that rotation right now?
Yep.
So, last outing he went 7 1/3, just 3 hits, no earned runs, no walks issued, 9 strikeouts as well. So, dude, keep it up, man. That'd be
exactly. It'd be wonderful to get out of here with a split after going 0-2 in the first 2 games against the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you've got Cleveland coming into town right after that too.
And they've not been playing all that well the last 2-3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
They were pretty much going gangbusters, and for some reason they hit a wall. I don't know what they've had some injuries, or everybody went into a funk at the same time. I don't know, but hopefully they'll stay in that funk when they come into Milwaukee.
Cleveland and Milwaukee may be kind of similar teams this year, right? Cleveland, I don't think anybody really had any expectations. You have a new manager, Stephen Vogt, coming over, but they've definitely been I think this weekend series between these two is a series between the National League and the American League managers of the year.
Yeah, I think so. And I haven't seen the roster for Cleveland. I don't know if they've got all young guys or some of the old guys, or what kind of a construction or a roster that they have over there. I know they've got some pretty good hitters, but I'm not sure the experience level of the Cleveland roster.
Mm-hmm. Really quick, I got another receiver defer for you before we go. So Aaron Judge, fastest to 300 home runs, 955 games. Previously, the record was Ralph Kiner, who needed 1,087 games. Then he finished with just 369. But Aaron Judge is the 162nd player to reach 300 at age 32. He is at an age creeping towards old for a baseball player. But does Aaron Judge crack 600 career home runs?
I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
Because, well, age is one thing, but he has a tendency to get injured too.
Mm-hmm.
And he ends up out for rather lengthy periods of time. He not little tweaks. He gets hurt. So I'm going to say no. I think if he could stay healthy, definitely, but I don't think he's healthy enough to do it.
Just 9 players in Major League Baseball have at least 600 or more career home runs. That's Bonds, Hank Aaron, Babe Ruth, Albert Pujols, Alex Rodriguez, Willie Mays, Ken Griffey Jr., Jim Thome, and Sammy Sosa. Frank Robinson has the next most, 586.
Yep. How many did Eddie Murray have?
Eddie Murray. Let's see. I've got the list right here.
Yeah, but 499 or something like that.
Eddie Murray's got 504.
Oh, he did get over 500.
Yep.
Good. Okay.
He's got 504.
Good.
So
Okay.
he is he's the last one, let's say, in the order of the fight, because the next one is Fred McGriff and Lou Gehrig, who have 493.
Okay. Yeah,
So.
Fred McGriff, the crime dog, that was the one that people thought he might come back one more year to try and get over that barrier, but obviously didn't do it.
Do you think Judge gets 500?
Oh yeah, I think he'll get 500. I don't think that'll be a problem. But at 600, that's reaching into the stars.
Mm-hmm. And remember too, he might have been fastest in the amount of games, but a lot of these guys made their debuts, younger age.
Yeah.
That's where. So it's like, well, if he was the fastest, why wouldn't he? Is 32. It just depends on when they made their major league debut. Some guys were up a little bit younger age,
and some of these older guys, you look at that, and you hear about all these different eras. The dead ball era. How many of these guys played during a dead ball era where, the ball wasn't jumping out of the ballpark, and how tight they're winding. I don't know what there's anything to this or not, but I grab a baseball from now or 1950s. I can't tell the difference in the hardness and how tightly it's wound. But, they're different eras. And again, pitching is different. We've talked about this many times. These guys used to finish complete games. By the time that you faced you in the third or fourth time, they don't have the same zip they had in the first inning. But now you're bringing in a sixth inning specialist, a seventh inning specialist, eighth and ninth inning specialist. These guys are fresh, and they're throwing hard. It's a different era, so it's always hard to compare these guys. But Judge is a great home run hitter. I wouldn't take anything away from him, and I think he'll reach 500. I hope he makes 600.
How about I'll throw another name out here? He's got 208 in his career. Ohtani.
How old is he?
Ohtani is 30.
He's got how many?
He's got 208 career home runs.
All right. So by the time he gets 32, he's not gonna have 300.
When's his birthday? So he just turned 30.
Yeah, but he's still got 2 years to hit.
2 years to hit
92 home runs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's going to do that. But
could be 45, 46, something. He'll get a few more this year.
Oh, he'll definitely get 500 if he can stay healthy, and the kid wants to play. I mean, I saw the other thing. He wants to pitch this year. Well, they're not going to let him do that, but the kid wants to play. He's a gamer, which is good to see. I think he's got a better chance hitting 600 than Judge.
That's going to be interesting to follow these two.
Yeah,
the race.
Well. I'd like to have them both on my team.
Well, that's the important thing too. I think for both those guys, make sure they've got the protection in the lineup so teams don't walk them.
Well, that helps too.
Yep. Ohtani's kind of got. Still weird to see him as a leadoff hitter, but he's got the speed. So
he does.
All right, you stay dry.
Yep, heading to Farm Technology Days. Come on up to Cadott. Lots of tents.
All righty. See ya. 1 hour in. We got a couple more to go. Stick around. We'll be back after these news updates. Second hour kicking off this morning. Appreciate y'all tuning in wherever, however you may be tuning in from. Whether it's online at sportstalk1051.com or downloading the app, or maybe you're checking us out on the video streams or the good old classic radio dials. We appreciate it. Coming up, we're going to talk some football as the Packers wrapping up practice yesterday before heading over to Denver for some joint practices ahead of their game on Sunday, preseason game numero 2. So we'll tell you who returned to practice and such. Also, maybe kind of do a little NFC North roundabout here with the news of JJ McCarthy getting going to be done for the year. Not going to see him at all. So we'll hit that up and maybe do a little around the league sort of thing here. So we got that coming up. Badgers, they finally made it official. Tyler Van Dyke is the starting quarterback. Phil Longo making that official yesterday, which was long expected, but it is officially official out there that Tyler Van Dyke will be the starting quarterback for the Badgers this season. So we'll hit that up and talk a little bit about that. Let's kick off with a little Throwback Thursday coming at you here. So it was this day in 1993. This day in 1993, Nolan Ryan got his 324th and final victory. 324th and final victory. Texas defeated Cleveland 4-1. In case you're wondering how Nolan played in that game, he went 7 innings, gave up just 2 hits, 1 earned run, 2 strikeouts, and a couple of walks over there too. He did play in 4 more games, but the results were all losses. He played again on the 21st against Baltimore, went 3 innings, 4 earned runs. Minnesota on September 12th, 5 2/3, gave up 4 earned runs. Against California, he had 7 innings and no earned runs. 1 run there, but not earned. And then his final game there in 1993 against Seattle, just a couple, gave up a couple hits and some 5 earned runs over there. It looks like 5 earned runs. So, but it was this day in 1993, Nolan Ryan picked up his final win of his career, 324. So, little Throwback Thursday coming at you here this morning. Hey, speaking of baseball too, got to give a quick shout out to the Eau Claire A's. They completed their pool play 1-3, but they're going to be going up against Korea today at 1 p.m. So best of luck to the Eau Claire A's at the Babe Ruth 13-16 World Series. We'll keep you posted on how the kiddos do over there. So best of luck. Best of luck to the Eau Claire A's Babe Ruth team. I did put up a poll question to kind of go based off what we were talking about a little bit earlier. Who will end up having more career home runs? Who will end up having more career home runs? Aaron Judge hit his 300th career home run last night. The fastest player to ever do it. Fastest player to ever do it. Ohtani, he's a couple years younger. He's sitting at 208. So we asked, just kind of a little fun, little banter thing, nothing too serious in that. But who do you think will end up having more career home runs? Is it going to be Judge or is it going to be Ohtani? Judge or Ohtani? So you can go to our Facebook group page called For the Love of the Game and vote, or hit me up on Twitter and vote over there at DANKASPER. Right now, it looks like everybody is voting for Aaron Judge at this point in time. So everybody going with Aaron Judge there. Reminder, Brewers and Dodgers, game 4 of this 4-game series this afternoon, 1:10 first pitch. Coverage will begin at about 12:35. It's got quite the pitching matchup between these two. We know Tobias Myers is going for the Brew Crew here. You've got Jack Flaherty going for the Dodgers. Both pitchers having solid seasons here. And when you look at kind of the matchups here in terms of the batting lineups and going up against these going up against these pitchers. Obviously, the Dodgers don't have any experience going up against Tobias Myers, so they're going into this. Yes, he's a rookie. Maybe they're going to be aggressive with him, but they're not too familiar with him. At least they haven't personally gone up against him. In terms of Jack Flaherty, you got a couple Brewers. Willie Adames has 10 career at-bats against him. He's actually got a couple home runs. He's got a batting average of 300 with a 1.264 OPS against him. Hoskins has a home run against him in 5 career at-bats, but just hitting 200. Does have a 1.133 OPS. Sanchez has a home run against him in his career, but again, just 4 at-bats. So, I mean, not a ton of experience. Contreras has got a 200 batting average against him in 5 career at-bats. So, again, Adames by far has the most experience going up against him. But when you look at what Jack Flaherty has been doing so far this season, 9-5 with a 2.97 ERA. And since he's been with the Dodgers, this will be his 3rd start for the Dodgers. First game was back on August 3rd, and he's picked up both. In 2 games, he's 2-0 with the Dodgers right now. But 6 innings, no earned runs in that game against Oakland. Picked up a win against Pittsburgh, went 5 2/3, but he did give up 9 hits and 4 earned runs and a couple home runs. But again, was able to add 10 strikeouts in that game here too. Jack Flaherty, you look at his strikeout numbers. I mean, this is a guy that strikes out a lot of people. 17 strikeouts in 2 games for the Dodgers. In the month of July, when he played 3 games with Detroit, he had 18 strikeouts, 25 strikeouts in 4 games in the month of June, 40 strikeouts in the month of May in 5 games, 43 strikeouts in the month of April in 5 games. So he's a high strikeout batter. And again, got some younger players in this lineup. We'll see how they attack him and such. And this is a guy too, when you look at, he doesn't walk a ton of guys either. So maybe kind of some similarities between Jack Flaherty and Tobias Myers on the mound. You got Jack, who doesn't walk a lot of guys. Tobias doesn't walk a lot of guys. Tobias throws a lot of strikes. Jack throws a lot of strikes here too. So something to kind of maybe keep an eye on. Should be a fun pitching matchup. I hope. I know a lot of times on paper it doesn't really live up to it, or sometimes it doesn't, live up to the expectations or the hype or whatever. But I'm excited to see this one. I'm excited to see this one this afternoon. Let's get away with at least a split against the Dodgers here. Brewers, though, 8.5 up in the division, the largest lead that they've had at any point in time this season. Cardinals and Reds now tied for second place in the NL Central. When you're taking a look at where the standings are, as we'll get into, like, it's going to be officially into the final quarter of the regular season this weekend with games. So we're at about 74%, if you're kind of wondering percentage-wise how close we are. But again, you got Cleveland now, New York and Houston as your division leaders. Baltimore is the top wild card spot. They're back and forth with the Yankees. Minnesota and Kansas City, your other wild card spots. Boston's 2 back. Seattle's 3 back. And then you look to the National League, it's still the top 3 there. Dodgers, Phillies, Brewers. And actually, right now, the Diamondbacks have more wins than the Brewers. Brewers have 1 fewer loss, but this is how well the Diamondbacks are playing. 6 wins in a row, 9-1 in their last 10 games. The Diamondbacks are playing some really good baseball right now. And the Padres too. Padres, 9-1 in their last 10. They also have 69 wins here. I mean, you got 2 very hot teams. And the Dodgers, just think, if the Dodgers maybe wouldn't have, if the Brewers somehow won the first 3 games, that NL West, or maybe just 1 more game, this NL West race, it's something to watch here. Diamondbacks and the Padres are really pushing the Dodgers right now. Really pushing the Dodgers. Never would have kind of thought that when you look at this point, as we're entering the final quarter of the season, when you're looking at the National League, the race to watch might be the NL West. Because the Dodgers are just holding on to a 2.5 game lead over the Diamondbacks and the Padres. Philadelphia is holding on to a 6 game lead over Atlanta. And yet you got the Brewers with the biggest lead in their division in the National League, 8.5 games. In fact, the Brewers right now, all across Major League Baseball, have the biggest lead in their division. So we mentioned Yankees and Baltimore going back and forth. Yankees right now just a half game up over Baltimore. Cleveland's up 4.5 over Minnesota. Houston's up 2.5 over Seattle. The Milwaukee Brewers are the team with the biggest divisional lead in all of Major League Baseball. Sports. How can you not be romantic about it? All right, let's take a quick break. We'll switch gears here a little bit. We're going to talk a little football here as we get set to Sundays is the preseason game, but we're going to get some joint practice between the Broncos and the Packers before that too. No starters. It sounds like Jordan Love not going to be playing in this game. Matt LaFleur opting to do, or believing that the joint practice, they're going to get a little bit more out of that one, out of those sessions than in a preseason game. So, but we'll do some recapping from practice yesterday. Who returned, and do we actually have a quarterback battle for that backup spot for Green Bay? Let's discuss coming up after these quick words. Fall in Wisconsin is absolutely gorgeous. Driving and seeing all the leaves changing colors when it's that time of year. But you know what would make fall in Wisconsin even better? If you were able to sit on that back porch, taking it all in your new home or your cabin on your new property. Make that dream a reality with the help from Woods and Water Realty. Just visit woodsandwater.com to find your new dream home or your first home or that property that you could put a camper or cabin on and start enjoying the beauty that Wisconsin has to offer. Visit woodsandwater.com to get started. And maybe with hunting season approaching here, you're thinking about, hey, maybe I need to get some land here to start some hunting adventures and create some memories. Woods and Water helps you out with that with the land. Tilden Gun helps you out with the equipment. Anybody else getting ready for hunting season? Because we're getting so close. But if you're not quite ready for hunting season, it's okay. Still have a bit more time, but make sure that you are really ready for this hunting season. You need to go visit Sean and Hunter at Tilden Gun, whether you're getting ready for the fall turkey or maybe some duck hunting or the November deer gun season. Tilden Gun has something for everyone. And the boys at Tilden Gun will help you find just what you are looking for. If you have something specific in mind, they'll help you out with that. They have the best selection in the Chippewa Valley, all at the best prices. Don't believe me? Hey, you can see it for yourself by visiting tildengun.com. One of Wisconsin's biggest traditions is getting ready to start back up. Get ready for this upcoming hunting season by visiting Tilden Gun today at 12427 90th Avenue in Chippewa Falls. All right, Packers going to be taking on the Denver Broncos this weekend for preseason game numero two. They're also going to be doing some joint practicing with the Denver Broncos. They're not going to be doing one-on-ones, it sounds like. Pass rushing one-on-ones or wide receiver one-on-ones because they don't want any fights. They don't want any fights. They don't want any punches thrown or anything like that. So, but just kind of a little bit of a recap from practice yesterday. I'm sorry, Packers fans, but not necessarily wasn't the greatest day from kicking either. Anders was 4 of 6. Greg Joseph was 3 of 6. So I know maybe being a little picky with the 4 and 6 one, but gosh, man, I don't have a whole lot of confidence. I'm nervous. I'm nervous about the kicking game, people. I wish I wasn't, but I'm very, very nervous with this thing. Nobody is running away with this competition yet. I don't know if they would still look outside the organization. I don't know if they would bring somebody in after cuts or anything like that. I think they're going to run with one of these two guys. But, we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. This is why I think, especially like this game coming up in Denver, and I know sea levels and all that, you can probably have a little bit more distance on that. Remember Jason Elam, setting a record at one point in that. But I want as many field goal attempts in these next 2 preseason games as possible. At this point, that's all I want. If the starters aren't playing, if Jordan Love and the starting offense isn't playing, I want as many field goal attempts between Anders, Greg, new guy Hall, whatever. I'd rather have a kickoff, a field goal kickoff, if you will, to figure this out. Because if I had to pick the position right now where I have the position group that I have the most uncertainty or that I'm the most nervous about at this point in time, it's the kicking group. That's number one, because we don't have a clear-cut leader in the clubhouse from all accounts. We don't. I mean, we could rank the top 5 if we wanted to, your top 5 position groups that maybe you're most nervous about or you're concerned about or the biggest question marks surrounding it. But for me, right now, it's kicking because we don't have that clear-cut leader. And I'm not counting Daniel Whalen in this thing. There's no competition for him. He's going to be the guy, and I'm okay with that. He's got some nice hang time. I'm okay with that. It's Anders, it's Greg Joseph, or whoever the heck it's going to be at this point. That's number 1 for me. Then you can probably go, okay, depth at offensive line, whether it's the tackles. I mean, I feel like they've got more depth at the guard position than they do at the tackle position. So you'd probably throw in offensive tackles there. Other than that, trying to think of what else would we put over there for the biggest question marks. Biggest maybe outside of Jacobs, running backs. Because Lloyd now with the hamstring injury, how much is he going to be out? AJ Dillon. I mean, the AJ Dillon thing. AJ Dillon's making the team. I don't call it a bold prediction, whatever you want. AJ Dillon is going to make the team. And we saw it. I think it was yesterday in practice, or maybe it was the other day too. And we've seen it a couple times where he's lined up with Josh Jacobs in the backfield, both those guys together. I mean, that for one, that's a lot of muscle. That's a lot of muscle back there. But I think this is also we're gonna see a different role. I know I said this yesterday, but I really feel like we are going to see a different role for AJ Dillon this year. And we're not going to see it in preseason. We're not going to see it, a whole lot in public practices and such. But I think we're going to see a unique role with him. But I get it's a question mark because we don't know. It's an unknown. So yeah, I'd probably put running backs the depth out there when you factor in the Lloyd injury with his hamstring. Those would probably be my top three over there. I'll tell you one guy that I'm really curious to continue to watch and kind of excited and intrigued to watch for these next couple preseason games is Evan Williams. I mean, he continues to play at such a high level in training camp. Think what's the number? He's got 4 interceptions already in camp. And I get it. It's practice, it's training camp and such. But this is a guy that I'm really excited and curious to see how Jeff Hafley is going to use him within his defense. Because he is a guy, we know him as a safety. But he's a guy that can also play the slot corner, that nickel corner position. I mean, he's a guy that just seems like he's always around the football. So is this kind of a little bit of a chess piece that Jeff Hafley can employ on his defense? So we got to see maybe Saturday was the first time for a lot of people to see Evan Williams in action and such, but I'm excited to see what he can do for these next couple games, and maybe kind of get a glimpse of, because I'll be curious to see, are they going to play him a little bit more at slot? Are they going to play him a little bit more nickel? They're going to keep him over at the safety spot, but he brings a unique skill set. And I was looking back the other day, just yesterday, at some of his draft stuff, the draft analysts and people out there. And this was from Lance Zierlein at NFL.com. He's a broad-hipped with limited agility and athleticism to a line too far away from the line of scrimmage. He's a box safety with a good feel for finding entry points and making tackles near the line. He can match up underneath and is average in his zone, but will allow too many big plays against NFL wideouts. He has a chance to impress on special teams, but inconsistent open field tackling could hurt his chances at becoming a viable backup safety. Then you go to Dane Brugler from The Athletic. Because he said he has the size of a free safety. He has the mentality of a box safety with his disciplined run support and eagerness to drop the hammer. Though he reacts well to front-facing throws, he has a tough time locating the ball down the field. And his coverage busts lead to big plays for the offense. Overall, Williams doesn't have playmaking instincts in the deep half of the field, but he's an energetic field presence with a trigger and toughness that are easy to appreciate. He projects as a strong safety and core special teamer. So again, when you kind of read those draft profiles, He's not your typical free safety. He's probably a guy that you don't want maybe on the back end picking up receivers on that, because if we take these as, these draft profiles like the Bible, like these are all accurate in that. You probably don't want him taking receivers over the top because of his limited or kind of a weakness of locating the ball down the field. He's a guy that plays better up front. That's why you hear him talked about as a nickel corner, as a slot corner, everything in front, playing in the box, helping out in run support a little bit more. Another draft profile says he plays with outstanding energy and temperament and will chase plays from the backside or from down the field. He's an extremely tough and physical player who will never shy away from contact. In the passing game, his instincts show very well. In zone coverage, he can read route patterns in the eyes of the quarterback, allowing him to get a jump on the route and make plays on the football. Smooth and fluid mover. He can mirror in and out of breaks, open his hips. He's best underneath where his quickness and anticipation allow him to gobble up quick hitting routes. Again, slot, nickel corner type of situation there. Overall, Williams has the instincts, toughness, and versatility to carve out a role at the next level. What type of role will that be, though? So I'm gonna. That's one guy I really want to watch in these next couple games. So if I throw it back to you, who is the player that you want to watch, or you're really intrigued to kind of follow and watch these next couple of games from a preseason perspective? The backups, like, is there a guy that you're like, okay, I want to see a little bit more of, or I want to see, him maybe kind of step it up here a little bit? To me, it's Evan Williams. I mean, we could go through a lot of rookies. Like, if Edrin Cooper's out there, I'm excited to see Edrin Cooper too, because I want to see a little bit from him. I want to see a lot from these rookies, these top rookies. I want to see Jordan Morgan. I want to see Edrin Cooper. I want to see Evan Williams. I want to see Bullard. I want to see these guys, because I think these guys have to be pivotal players this year for this team to go as far as some people expect that they could or think that they could. But those rookies, those youngsters, are going to have to be big players because of that. Carrington Valentine returned to practice. It was his first day back in a while now. That's a guy too that is going to be instrumental to this defense that we're all hoping and kind of expecting to make a jump. Because when you look at the depth at the corner, Green Bay didn't draft high with cornerback needs. They're putting a lot on Jair, Stokes, Keyshawn at the slot, Carrington Valentine, and then Kalen King. Kalen King is another dude that I want to continue to watch these next couple games. He's got the praises from his head coach already. Kalen King making impressions in with Matt LaFleur. Matt LaFleur was singing his praises the other day in press conference media session before practice began. So, and then of course, like Lucas Van Ness, I'm still looking at him to continue to get in the backfield. It sounds like Lucas Van Ness and Devontae Wyatt, from practice reports, it sounds like that those two guys have really been getting in the backfield and disrupting. And I'm excited to see maybe more stunts between those two, because those are two guys that I think really have to jump it up this year and be contributors on that defensive side. So, all right, we got to take a quick break. Last call for any receiver defer questions. Hit me up, 715-830-1912. 715-830-1912. We'll take a quick break, and we'll do some receiver defer. Last call for any questions for Mr. Jake Boakes, our outdoor tidbits. DNR warned Mr. Jake Boakes. Let us know. All right. Text me, 715-830-1912 for your questions. Quick break. We'll be back in just a little bit. Not sure if you could tell from all that fall decor that's hitting all the department stores lately here, but fall is getting close. It's almost upon us. So while the leaves may start to fall along with some of the temperatures, you should fall on in to Carpet City Flooring Center and finally update that flooring of yours in your home. Hey, maybe it's time for you to put together that man cave for the upcoming football season, or remodel that bedroom or living room, or change out the shower tiles, whatever it may be. Honor the change of the seasons by changing up your flooring game. Just head on over to Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire and let the team there help you accomplish your flooring dreams. And maybe to get in the mood for a little fall season, maybe check out the Rigid Max flooring that would look great in your space. So fall on into Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire and upgrade that flooring of yours this year. All right, let's do a little receive or defer this morning. Receive or defer. We got plenty of questions from everybody out there, so appreciate that. Receive or defer. AJ Dillon will be the surprise cut. No, I'll defer that. I don't think he will be. So, if I had to pick a surprise cut, boy, that's a tough one. I don't know if it would be necessarily a surprise, to be honest with you, but I would say like Toure or Melton, Bo Melton. I'd say one of those two, but Bo Melton didn't have a great game last Saturday, dropping a couple balls and such. But no, to go back to the original question, I do not think he will be the surprise cut. Those are always tough to answer because sometimes you think that there's not going to be a surprise cut, and then there tends to be a surprise. Like, holy crap, can't believe they got rid of him. But I don't. Maybe I'm bullish on this, but I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. A couple more Packers receive or defers here this morning. Receive or defer. Evan Williams or Bullard will end up taking the slot corner position over Keyshawn Nixon. I don't think it'll happen initially. I think we're going to get Keyshawn Nixon as your nickel corner to begin the season. If I had to pick somebody, maybe Evan Williams could eventually take over that spot, but not right away. I don't think it's going to happen right away, especially after you give Keyshawn Nixon that big time deal and veteran and that sort of thing. So I don't think it will happen right away. Could it happen later on in the year? Possibly, very possible. Receive or defer, Devontae Wyatt will end up being a starter on the defensive line. This one is from Chris. I know what the depth chart, they have Slayton on there. Yeah, I think you're going to have a rotation when it comes to the defensive line. They're going to plug in play, and guys are going to be coming in and out and trying to keep guys as fresh as possible. But yeah, see, I don't read a whole lot into depth charts because first of all, it's all based off of kind of your basic defense or your base defense. And a lot of times it's like, well, when you start a game, the first formation and such, some people don't get credited for a game start. So I guess maybe technically in a depth chart, he probably won't be a starter, but he's going to get plenty of playing time this year. And maybe by season's end he will. Does that make sense? Just because I don't. It's a weird thing. Like Kenny Clark's like the only defensive lineman. Not talking defensive ends. Kenny Clark is the only defensive lineman that is like going to be your consistent starter up there. So I could see it fluctuating and changing in different packages for different dudes and all that sort of stuff. Receive or defer. Going back to the Brewers here. Receive or defer. The Brewers will re-sign Willie Adames at the end of this season. I'm going to defer that. I think they'd be interested in it. But I almost feel like, is it going to be one of those scenarios where it was kind of like the Prince Fielder and CC Sabathia thing, where they offered him a contract. It was a nice contract. They offered those guys, I think at that point in time, was it like $20 million a year? I think Prince was like $20 million a year, but he was going to get more elsewhere, and he left. I kind of wonder if it's going to be something like that, where they're going to offer Willie Adames, I think, a contract. And it'll be a good contract, but he's probably going to be able to get more money elsewhere. And that's where I think he's going to end up leaving that way. So, personally, I wouldn't mind it. I think he brings a lot more than just his play to the table, especially with this team. But I think he's going to get a better deal elsewhere. I think the interesting thing is with shortstops. Remember, I mean, there was it a couple years ago, like the shortstop market, there was some talent out there, but there wasn't a lot of teams running to pay these shortstops. So I'm curious to see. Let me see what the market is, or who are the top paid shortstops right now. Francisco Lindor's got 34.1 million. Carlos Correa, 33 million. Corey Seager, I got Mookie Betts on this one. This is from Front Office Sports, but now he's back there. Bobby Witt Jr., 26.2. It just takes that one team, right? It takes that one team to make that offer that maybe you can't refuse. And the other part too is like the length. Maybe the Brewers would like to have a little bit of a shorter one, a short term, couple years, few years. Willie may want a longer one so he gets paid a little bit more too. So I don't know. I personally would think. Let me rephrase that. I personally wouldn't mind it, but I'm going to defer it because I just think the money's going to be too much. I think it's going to be a little too much. Another Brewers one, receive or defer. The Brewers will end up winning this division by double-digit games. Ooh. No, I'll defer. I think it's going to be around 7 or 8 or 6, 7 or 8. Brewers are up 8.5 right now over the Cardinals and the Reds. They got the widest gap in all of Major League Baseball from first. I mean, they're leading their division by the widest gap amongst other divisions in baseball. But I think I'll defer that, and I think it's going to be 6, 7, 8, somewhere around there. They'll win it, but not by double digits. I don't see that happening. So, receive or defer. Again, going back to the Brewers here. Receive or defer. Tobias Myers will win a total of 10 games this year. Oh, will there be enough games for him to do that? Let's see. Dodgers today. We got 2. I'm going to defer that because he may have 6, 7 more starts on there, and he's got 6 wins. He's 6-5 this year, so I'll defer that just based off of I'm looking at the big schedule here and trying to do it without actually counting them out. But I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's going to go up against the Cardinals next Wednesday. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then San Francisco. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I'll defer that. Maybe he's got 8 more starts. I'd have to count it all out. I don't know off the top of my head. No, I'm going to defer it. 6 win, and Dodgers today, St. Louis. I don't see it. Maybe even actually St. Louis a couple times coming up here too. It looks like potentially. Then you got that stretch in the middle of September. I mean, Arizona's hot right now. I mean, they're scorching hot. And you got Arizona twice, 6 games, 2 series in the middle of September, with Philadelphia in the middle there. Actually, 7 games. 4 of them are at Milwaukee. But man, we're talking about this stretch right now. Finishing up with the Dodgers, and you got Cleveland, and then you got St. Louis. Arizona continues to play like they're playing right now. That series in the middle of September is going to be wow. 3 on the road at Arizona. Then you're at home with 3 against Philadelphia, 4 with Arizona. No off days. No off days from that stretch. And even before that first series against Arizona, you got 3 against the Diamondbacks. No off days. So you're talking September 9th, they have an off day. their next off day won't be until September 23rd. And they've got the Giants, Arizona for 7 games, and Philadelphia in that stretch. Man, talk about a tough one to finish up your season. Holy moly. So, all right. So let's do another receive or defer. Receive or defer. You agree with Tyler Van Dyke getting the starting job? I mean, yeah. I know you got Brain Lock and such over there, but I mean, that was a foregone conclusion, in my opinion. That was a foregone conclusion that he was going to be the starter. So, we'll see how it goes this year. So, yeah, I'll receive it. I'm okay with it. And let's be real. He going to transfer to Wisconsin without probably some assurances that he was going to be the starting quarterback, or at least maybe getting some positive vibes, or being the leader in the clubhouse. Yeah, I'm not too surprised that he is the starter. So yeah, I'll receive it. This is from Ben. Receiver defer. Saw this on CBS Sports where they did each team's breakout player of the year. Receive or defer. You agree with their Packers pick of Dontavian Wicks? Well, that always depends on how you define breakouts. Kind of going back to our bracket challenge of most underrated Wisconsin sports athlete of all time. So, I mean, Dontavian had his rookie year last year, and he flashed, right? And he flashed some moments. There's expectations for him this year to make that year 2 jump. For me, when I look at a breakout player, I may be looking at a player that's a couple years into the thing, and then he just really kind of explodes. Like, I'm looking at a guy like a Devontae Wyatt, who's been here a couple years, and then maybe he's going to break out this 3rd year. A first-round pick sort of thing. I'm looking at him maybe like a Quay Walker type of situation. Maybe it's a Christian Watson, like a Christian Watson type of player. But I understand why they picked Dontavian Wicks. I really do. Because there was a lot of intrigue last year with him. Kind of a little middle of the depth chart, bottom of the depth chart. Then he started to get some more opportunities and started to make some plays. And then all offseason heading into this one, there's like, oh, watch his route running. This dude's really good. Watch out for year 2. So I understand why they have there. And I'm not arguing, or I'm not disagreeing with it too. I guess it just kind of depends on what your definition, quote unquote definition is of a breakout player. I may be looking at a guy that maybe a couple quiet first couple seasons, and then he's poised to have a breakout season in year 3. Maybe it's a Christian Watson, Devontae Wyatt. But yeah, I don't have any problems with Dontavian Wicks. I probably wouldn't have picked him just because maybe there's that assumption that he's going to be a good player this year, if you know what I mean. So, all right, that's going to do it. Thank you to all of you who texted in some receiver defer questions here this morning. Last call, though, for any questions for Jake Bolks, our outdoor tidbits, our DNR warden buddy, here this morning. So we'll talk to him. I know a couple of you have already asked about the new elk regulations, elk zones and such. So we'll hit that up with Mr. Bolks coming up here in just a little bit. I know it's just new and fresh, so we'll see if he's got anything new to add to the release there. You heard it in Morgan's news updates. You're going to hear it again at the top of the hour here. So, but we'll talk to Jake about that. We'll get back to some more baseball talk coming up in the next hour as well, getting set for game 4 with the Dodgers. The last time the Brewers will face the Dodgers this regular season. We got Tobias Myers on the mound. We'll hit that up. We'll get back to a little football talk here. I want to do a little NFC North rundown here with the McCarthy news yesterday that he's going to be done for the season. So we'll hit that up and talk a little bit about that. Plus, we had a trade, Matthew Judon getting traded from the Patriots to the Atlanta Falcons. So got him over there. Apparently, the Bears were looking at adding him too, but kind of a big move over there. Atlanta, obviously a team trying to get that Super Bowl now with Kirk Cousins at their quarterback. So kind of do a little bit of a trip around the league coming up in the next hour too. So 2 in, we've got 1 more to go. Stick around. We'll be back after these news updates. All right, final hour kicking off right now. Big thanks for tuning in wherever, however, you're tuning in here this morning, whether it's on the radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available online, sportstalk1051.com. You got the app, download it, take it on the go. Stream it on your smart devices and smart speakers. We've got Jake Bolks coming up at the bottom of the hour here for our outdoor tidbits, answering your questions. So thank you to all of you who have submitted questions. If you didn't get them in, we'll have to wait till next time here for the next time we talk to Jake. So always text those questions on in at 715-830-1912. Let's do a little quicker trip around the NFC North, shall we hear? By the way, I was reading Bill Huber from Packer Reports, kind of his recap from practice yesterday, the highlights from practice yesterday. And he was talking about Devontae Wyatt. And we were just talking about Devontae Wyatt. But he said what's kind of been a theme throughout camp here has been Devontae Wyatt consistently getting in the backfield regularly getting in the backfield. As he said, here's something that happens with regularity. Devontae Wyatt got in the backfield in the blink of an eye for a sack. So again, this is a dude that I hope takes that jump is in that third year. I think this is a big year for him. I think he's a guy that will benefit within this new defense. But if he can continue to play like he has been in practice and all these reps and such, and you pair him up with a guy like Kenny Clark, those two I would think can feed off of each other. They can play off each other. They can utilize their talents. And then you got the ends with the Rashawn Gary, Lucas Van Ness, Preston Smith. I mean, the as Michael Jordan said, the roof is the ceiling. Sky is the limit for that defensive line. So I'm excited to see them. But taking a look at the NFC North right now, I found that CBS article, by the way, from one of our texters for Receiver Defer, because I wanted to see who they had for the rest of the NFC North. Like Jamison Williams, I think is a great pick for the Lions. You know, he began his rookie season, injured, and got to see him a little bit last year and such. But that to me is like the definition of a breakout player is Jamison Williams. Pace Jr., the linebacker for Vikings, Tyreek Stevenson for the Bears was the corner. So, but yeah, that Jamison Williams one I think is a sneaky good pick for a breakout player. For the for the Lions. I saw the Dan Orlovsky. Somebody had texted if I saw the Dan Orlovsky wide receiving group rankings in the NFC North. I did see it. In case anybody hasn't, I'll bring it up. So, obviously Dan Orlovsky, ESPN, he ranked the receiving groups in the NFC North, and let's just say it's sparked quite a bit of debate, at least on the social media stuff, and even I think Orlovsky had to make his case a little bit for it on Twitter. So, yeah, his NFC North receiving core ranks. Okay, it's not just one, but it's a core. Green Bay number 1, Vikings number 2, Bears number 3, Lions number 4. And he said he also included tight ends into these rankings. So he followed up by saying, I wanted 5 above average plus pass catchers as a criteria. Tight ends were included. Minnesota took the 2 spot over Chicago strictly because Justin Jefferson accounts for 2+ players. He's so good. Well, while I appreciate a love for Green Bay at that 1 spot, and yes, they've got some depth. I mean, you look at like the Lions and you look at the Bears. I mean, they're top heavy. They're very top heavy. You look at Minnesota, okay, Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, you've got your top 2, and then you got TJ Hawkinson, okay? Brandon Powell's over there. I don't know if I'd put him at number 2. I don't know if I would put those guys at number 2. That to me seems a little high. I look at Detroit, you got Amon-Ra St. Brown, you've got, as we mentioned, Jameson Williams on the roster. You could throw in Donovan Peoples-Jones, Traquan Smith, Khalif Raymond, but Sam Laporta had a pretty darn good year last year. But you look at Chicago. You got to give Chicago credit. They surrounded Caleb Williams with some dudes. Cole Kmet, Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore. That's pretty solid. Now, I will say, I think maybe in terms of, and I think the first criteria where Orlovsky's going with this, he wanted 5 above average pass catchers as criteria. Chicago, Rome, Keenan, DJ. I don't think anybody tops those top 3. I don't think anybody tops those. You throw in Cole Kmet over there, that's a pretty darn good foursome. But then the question is maybe after that, where's the depth after that? Whereas if you look at Green Bay, you've got Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Jane Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgrave. I think if it were me on paper, I may say Green Bay's got the better 1-2 tight end. Minnesota, you got Hawkinson, you got Josh Oliver. Detroit is Sam Laporta, Brock Wright, Gerald Everett, Cole Kmet. Shout out Mercedes Lewis in Chicago there too. I would say Green Bay's probably got your top 2 tight ends. I don't know. I still probably might have put Chicago 1, then maybe Green Bay 2, Detroit 3, and the Vikings 4. It's interesting because you look at, and that's where I find this NFC North division so fascinating this year and for the next couple of years. But you look at the receiving groups with these teams. It's very top heavy with 3 of the 4 teams. You got Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison over in Minnesota. 2 first-round picks. You got in Detroit, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams, first-round pick. Amon-Ra's not, but Amon-Ra is one of the best receivers in the league. You look at Chicago. Rome's a first-round pick. DJ Moore, one of the better younger receivers. Keenan Allen, a very solid veteran, just a consistent guy over there. Very top-heavy. Then you go to Green Bay. It goes back to the – and this is why I think a lot of people, a lot of outsiders or a lot of media people keep asking Green Bay, keep asking Matt LaFleur this about who's your number 1. Do you need a number 1? Because, I mean, you look at the rest of the division as an example, and you've got like 1-2 very good receivers. It's very top-heavy. Green Bay was like that for a long time, especially during the Mike McCarthy era, right? Or with Devontae Adams there. And Green Bay doesn't right now have that. At least on paper, they don't. But they've got depth. They got some options. They got some depth over there. And when I look at this NFC North for the next few years here, this is going to be a lot of fun to watch this division. It might be frustrating at times. And maybe for Packers fans, it might be frustrating at times because it might not be as easy to win the division like it has been for a long time. Maybe for people of similar ages to me or a little bit younger than that. And I think you look at these 4 teams in this division, and they're all kind of different in their own way. They've all been built a little bit differently. You know, Detroit having that breakout year last year. Now they've had to pay a lot of their guys. Because what happens when you have good players? You got to pay them. They're kind of in a win now mode right now, right? Then you look at Chicago. They're hoping they finally got their franchise quarterback, Caleb Williams. They've surrounded him with a bunch of pass catchers. Rome's a youngster, got a veteran in Keenan. DJ's going to be there for a couple more years, few more years. The weird thing is with Chicago, if they don't do anything this year or they don't play up to their expectations, they're going to have a new head coach. But you see what Chicago's building over there. Minnesota. The J.J. McCarthy news stinks. The one, I guess, if you want to say positive with it, is that they weren't preparing, at least that's what they were telling us, They weren't preparing for him to start, at least initially. They were still preparing for Sam Darnold to start. So at least they don't have to like restart everything. Like, okay, now we got to prepare a different quarterback to be the starter. They were going to kind of bring him on in, but McCarthy was looking, by all accounts, pretty good in practice, looking pretty good, maybe pushing Sam Darnold. Sounded like he was going to get some first team reps this week too, but that's not going to happen. But you look at Minnesota, you got a top wide receiver. You got TJ Hockenson when he's healthy. He's a pretty darn good tight end. And then you got your new quarterback that you're hopefully going to have around for a long time. And then Green Bay. You got your new quarterback. He's now the highest paid quarterback. Surrounded with a lot of young, cheap offensive talent. Defense, you're switching up to a 4-3. You've got some players over there. They're also kind of in a win now mode. I mean, this division to me right now might be at its most competitive that it's been in, gosh, when was the last time that you can make the case that this is top to bottom, depth-wise, maybe one of the best, if not the best division in football? When was the last time we said that about the NFC North? Trying to think off the top of my head. For the longest time, I mean, it wasn't like that when you had Favre and Rodgers being the quarterback for Green Bay. Yes, there were times when Vikings won a division, Bears won a division, Lions won it last year for the first time in a long time. But from top to bottom in the next few years, I think this is going to be a really, and if you're just a football fan, a fun division to watch, but maybe a frustrating one too for whoever you are a fan of, because it's going to be a tight one. And every single game may matter on the schedule now. Because it might just take one game to separate first from second. A couple games to separate first from third. So I'm excited to see how it all plays out. I really am. All right, switching gears here a little bit to the Brewers. Brew Crew back in action today. We got just a few hours from now. First pitch, 1:10. Tobias Myers is on the mound for the Crew, looking to have a repeat performance from his latest outing against Cincinnati, where he went 7 1/3, 3 hits, no earned runs, 9 strikeouts. That was that no decision game from him. If you remember back on Saturday, it was kind of a pitching duel over there. But Tobias Myers, I mean, we've talked about this guy for a while now, for these last couple of months. You know, the month of June he had, the month of July. I mean, he is easily one of the best pitchers. I think you can make the case, easily make the case. He has been one of the best pitchers since the month of June, not just in the National League, but in the American League too. So, you know, he's going to be back on the mounds coming up this afternoon. And he's going to have a tough matchup. He's got Jack Flaherty, who's also been a very solid pitcher, a very good pitcher throughout the rest of this, or throughout the whole season right now. So, on paper, it looks like a pitching matchup. And you have to wonder which offense is going to have the advantage. Kind of hard not to pick the Dodgers, right? Dodgers have no experience going up against Tobias Myers. Does that help the Dodgers? Does it help the Brewers? You know, with a youngster, I got to imagine maybe the Dodgers are probably going to be a little aggressive. Both these pitchers throw a lot of strikes. They don't walk guys. But I think a big key for this afternoon's game is going to be, I'll go back to a comment that Pat Murphy made a couple days ago when they were going up against Kershaw, and after the game, he talked about, you know, haven't seen my young guys kind of maybe get caught up in the moment. I'm paraphrasing here, but he kind of alluded, he's like, I haven't seen my young guys kind of maybe get stuck in that moment, kind of in an awe moment, like, you know, that's Kershaw over there. I think a big key for this is going to be for Tobias Myers. Kind of that same thing. Your first 3 hitters is Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman. Is there a better 1 through 3 lineup in Major League Baseball than that? I mean, who? Schwarber, Turner, and Harper. Okay, there's that one according to Hudson. Can throw that one in there. It's a good one. See, got my producer to my right over there. But one of the best ones out there. So to me, though, that's going to be a big key for Tobias Myers. Can he handle the emotions? Can he settle down the butterflies? Does he not get caught up in the awe moment of pitching to those guys? If he can go out there and kind of do what he has been doing since the month of July, put his team in a position to hopefully win this game, then the Brewers got a shot. But if he's going to get caught up in that moment, boy, you know that lineup is just going to attack it. And I'll be curious to see what the approach is for both of these offenses, knowing that both of these pitchers throw a bunch of strikes. They don't walk guys. They don't throw a lot of wasted pitches. What's going to be the approach from both? Is both these offenses going to come out and try to be aggressive right away? They're going to try to rack up pitch counts? Come out swinging right away? It'll be interesting to kind of follow along. First pitch, again, 110. Coverage is going to begin at 12:35. You can catch that on the radio dials 105.1 FM and 790 AM. Brewers, even though they are 1-2 in these last two games right now, they've actually increased their lead in the division, 8.5 up over the Cardinals and the Reds. Reds helping out the Brewers' cause right now. They've been just dominating the Cardinals. But 8.5 games is the largest lead that the Brewers have had at any point this season. In fact, right now it is currently the biggest lead in any division race in all of Major League Baseball. Brewers over the Cardinals right now. Pretty darn impressive. That's pretty darn impressive. Catch up on a few texts before we got to take a break here and get to Mr. Jake Boakes for our outdoor tidbits. This is from Ben. Ben saying, excited to see what Tobias Myers does against this stout lineup of the Dodgers. How about Devin Williams last night? Yeah, we mentioned Devin Williams in the first hour there. Devin Williams, I mean, dude, if that doesn't get you excited when you're up, you come into the situation, you've played in 5 games this year, appeared in 5 games. So still kind of maybe coming back and getting up to speed here a little bit. You know what happened the first 2 games. You're holding on to a 1-run lead against the Dodgers, and you got your 1, 2, 3 hitters coming up, Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman. 1, 2, 3. I mean, that was pretty darn impressive from Devin Williams. So yeah, big time tip of the cap to Devin Williams. A couple more texts here. This one looks like is from Eric on our Shoe Doctors texting line here, saying just keep getting more and more impressed with Jackson Chourio. A couple hits for him last night. I know he's kind of up and down, but for the most part, he has been a pretty stable force within this lineup, and especially since Pat Murphy moves him all around the lineup as well. Yeah, I mean, we've talked a lot about Jackson Chourio and the play that he is, or the level of play that he's been at as of late, especially since Christian Yelich has been out with injury. You know, Devin Williams has kind of been a staple in left field and holding it down, and has been a nice presence in that lineup. Offensively, he's kind of really picked it up and maybe helped fill that void left by Christian Yelich. I mean, on the season so far, Jackson Chourio is up to a 272 batting average, 747 OPS. He's got 14 home runs. I mean, his last 26 at-bats, he's dipped a little bit. He's hitting 269. It wasn't that long ago. I think it was last week where, like, dude's almost hitting 400 in his last, 7 games or so. But no, I mean, Jackson Chourio has gotten a hit in each of these games against the Dodgers. And here's the other thing, too. Against the Dodgers in these 3 games, Jackson Chourio hasn't struck out. He hasn't struck out. I think that's kind of a nice little nugget to throw out there. We'll do one more text here before we got to take a quick break. This one is from Jim. Jim saying about the Brewers. It was definitely kind of a frustrating up and down type of game last night, but a win is a win. Hopefully they can at least split the series. Would you consider that a win if they were able to split this series. I think after considering what happened in the first two games, if you can come back and win your next two, I'd take that as a win. And you're right. The game yesterday had its ebbs and flows. I mean, you start off heading into the bottom frame of the first inning, you're already down 3-0. And then you have a situation where you've got the bases loaded and nobody out, and you don't score any runs. And you're like, here we go again. But Bauer's kind of like turned the tide, I think, with that solo shot in the second. Brewers able to tie it up. Terang hit a triple. Jackson Churio shattered his bat. Had quite a few broken bats in the game in the early part of the game yesterday. See that Otani one where it almost hit Frankie Montas? And Freeman broke a bat too, but able to tie it up. I think as soon it was just kind of like reset the whole game after the second inning. It was like, okay, we're back to square one. It's 0-0. And it was a good comeback. It was a good grind out game for the Brew Crew. But you're right. And then later on, you had the situation where Terang had a hit, but Ortiz was on the run. Slid in a second, couldn't locate the ball. Took a step back to first, but then when he ran to third, he didn't touch second again. And I was reading a little bit about it earlier this morning too. Apparently, Clayton Kershaw was the one who noticed it and told Dave Roberts. So Ortiz got out, and Bryce Terang was charged with the fielder's choice instead of a double, and his batting average actually kind of went down after that. So, yeah, you had your ups and downs and your weird stuff yesterday, but I'll take that win because I think that team just they needed that win against the Dodgers, and hopefully they can get another win today and tie up this series. All right, let's take a quick break here, and we'll catch up with our good buddy, Mr. Jake Boakes, conservation warden for the state of Wisconsin. Thank you to all of you who sent in some questions. Reminder, always text those in ahead of time, all right? But we'll take that quick break, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Progressive Parlay today, where you can lose a leg and still get paid. DraftKings, we get you, so we got that. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for eligibility terms and responsible gaming resources.
How do you stay at the top of an industry for more than 117 years? By always improving what you offer while never changing who you are. For another year running, Dairyland Seed is raising the bar for performance with our best ever line of corn, soybean, and silage products designed specifically for success in the upper Midwest. And yet again, we're delivering those products with the same dedicated support and access to the right people with the right information as we always have. Seed performance that's never been seen before, delivered the way it always used to be. That's the Dairyland Seed difference. Learn more at dairylandseed.com.
Hey guys, it's Joe again. So you all have heard me talking about Court & House for a few months now, and a lot of you have taken advantage of my free drink offer. Matter of fact, I'm taking out a loan just to cover my tab. But it's all worth it because of the great people who hang out at Court & House. My wife and I love it. Could be date night, hanging out with buddies to watch the game, dinner with the family, or coaches meetings. It's my #1 go-to spot. Truly some of the best bar food I've ever had. The homemade wing sauces are out of this world, and bartenders who know exactly what I want before I even sit down. And remember, you can always book the back room for private parties or events. Now that it's officially football season, whether it be Friday night lights after Old Abe football, college football Saturdays, or Sunday fun day with the NFL, I'll probably be there even more. So if you're looking for that bar where everyone truly does know your name, it's time to make a Court & House appearance. And yes, your first one is still on me once my loan is approved. Join me, Grant Avenue, downtown Eau Claire.
This August 31st, lace up for a cause at the 43rd Annual Buckshot Run in Eau Claire, benefiting Special Olympics Wisconsin. Come to Carson Park for a day of fun and fundraising. Whether you walk, run, or cheer, your support makes a difference. Register now at SpecialOlympicsWisconsin.org. Together, you can empower athletes and build inclusive communities. Don't miss out. Visit SpecialOlympicsWisconsin.org today. Brought to you by Special Olympics Wisconsin and this radio station.
Sports Talk 105.1 is your home for the great outdoors. Outdoor reports, outdoor tidbits with the DNR, photos, and more. Visit our outdoor community at sportstalk1051.com. Answering your questions and giving you the tips you need to be successful and safe in the outdoors. It's time for your outdoor tidbits. Have a question you'd like answered by Jake? Send it to us, and we'll ask for you.
It is time for our outdoor tidbits with Mr. Jake Boakes, our conservation warden buddy for the great state of Wisconsin. And I know this has been a busy week for all the deer hunters out there. If you're trying to get some antlerless tags and such, those sales, I think all the zones open up today and such, but we'll ask the expert. Morning, Jake. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing good. How about you guys?
Not bad. I got my antlerless tag, so I'm feeling pretty good and such. But I know today's the day where they all open up, I believe, right?
Yeah. So if you didn't have time to get in, now's the time to get in and start getting your antlerless tags.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. If they're still available, depending on your zone.
Yeah, if they're still available. I talked to a few people that had alarms set and everything to get them, and they just forgot to buy them still. So maybe that opened up opportunities for other people.
Yeah. Well, I was in line. I think I started at 9:45, and I was at number 5,000. It looked like, but it only took 10 minutes to get in, so it went quick.
Yeah, it rips through it pretty good, but it's pretty crazy when you get in there and you're like number 5,000, 7,000, and you're like, how am I ever going to get one? But you end up getting what you need if you're doing it right away.
Oh yeah, easily. Hey Jake, we had actually a few people ask this question, and I know it's still new and such, and you guys are probably still kind of learning about it. But you know, the elk news with the Natural Resources Board approving 2024 to 2034 elk management plan, and I was kind of reading the release here too, and it says a couple of key updates: managing the statewide elk population using an adaptive management approach, renaming the management zones to include regional distinctions, creating one continuous elk hunting season, and expanding the boundaries of the elk management zones. So I think a lot of people are asking about that fourth bullet point, the expanding the boundaries of the elk management zones. Essentially, does that mean that more areas are going to be opened up to potentially hunt elk in the coming years?
Yeah, I shall preface it by saying I'm not the expert. That's the just a couple. Christine and Josh are the ones that manage the two different herds, or at least are a big part of it. There's a lot of stakeholders in it, but I know the ultimate goal is to just have the healthiest, biggest herd that landscape habitat can support. So, part of any sort of any sort of plan is you got to look for the future. And if we didn't look at expanding or looking at when you have 70 elk versus 200 elk, they're obviously going to be in a wider area. They're going to be more spread out. So I know part of the plan is just taking a look at where are these elk probably going to continue to expand to, and how do we incorporate that into the public lands and private lands, and how that's going to affect everything. So yes, it'll probably expand some of the hunting opportunities in the future, at least the zones and this and that. But especially down here in the Black River herd, we're still kind of learning exactly what it's all about, because none of us have experience with the clam lake herd. We don't have experience with the hunting season and stuff like that. So this is going to be a fun year, but a fun learning year as well on kind of how this is going to look for the next decade.
And it seems like the herd is doing well. I read a little note on the bottom too. It said that the state's elk population is projected to reach over 500 animals after this year's calving season. So it seems like the herds are doing they're healthy right now.
The herds are really healthy. I can't speak as well for the North herd, but down here, I know that the birthing rate and the survival rate was extremely high after a mild winter. And I know one of the best things they talked about was how there's not a specific thing that is leading to their mortality, whether it's the calves or the adults, which is good. There's predators, there's car kill, there's hunting, there's disease, which is good that it's all spread around and you have a death here or there versus like they're all getting wiped out by semis or they're all dying of a disease. So it's a good, healthy herd, which I think will only bode well for the future on, hopefully having more tags or people seeing them more if they just want to go out there and, look at take pictures of a Wisconsin elk, which is still pretty crazy.
Yeah, no doubt. So I know there's probably a lot of people excited about it, obviously with the few texts we got, but kind of maybe pay attention and kind of follow along for more updates later on, it sounds like.
Yeah, definitely. This is just the first step of what I imagine is hundreds, but they got to start somewhere with a plan, and then the biologists, and again, there's a lot of different stakeholders. It's not just the DNR, but there's a lot of different aspects that come into it, and I know that they're always happy to answer questions if you're curious on the herd. Obviously, you can look on our website for information, but if you got specific questions or want to help or this or that, you can always reach out to the local DNR staff in those areas and see if there's any opportunities or educational opportunities and such.
Mm-hmm. Jake, also UTV seatbelts and early. Well, first of all, let's hit up with that with the UTV seatbelts.
Yeah, there's nothing crazy. There's no new rules on UTV seatbelts, but I thought it'd be a good thing to touch on really quick. UTVs, more the laws, the DNR laws, the road route rules are more and more becoming similar to your typical standard vehicle. So you got to have lights on in inclement weather, but also now you have to have lights on all the time. But you have to wear your seatbelts in the UTV, and it's been a law for a long time, and I'm starting to see more, and rightly so. I guess I'm doing the same. There's more and more citations being issued for the seatbelts, and it's not like a $10 you didn't wear your seatbelt rule like on the road. It's a couple $100 for not wearing your seatbelt. And the importance of that is it's directly related to safety. Unfortunately, I think we've had a fair amount of fatalities this year, and what ends up happening, if it's unfortunately they're related to alcohol, most of them, but what ends up happening is people are being thrown out of the UTV, or they're getting pinned under it because half their body's outside of it because they're not wearing their seatbelts. I don't want to be the morbid warden that's saying, they're dangerous and this and that, 'cause I love riding them.
Mm-hmm.
But when you see enough of it, and something as simple as a seatbelt could keep you inside the machine to save your life, I think it's important that it's talked about and that people definitely wear them when they're out on the road routes and trails. And to be honest, even when you're on your own property.
Good stuff there too. Have you seen it? Is it kind of the same rules for ATVs and all that? Because I've been seeing a lot more UTVs too. I was at a buddy's house a couple weeks ago, and it was actually a baby shower, and a bunch of people were just rolling in the driveway riding UTVs out in the country. So it seems like that's their mode of transportation.
Oh yeah, it's still the highest. It's the highest, fastest growing sport here, and at Farm Tech Days, I'd say it's the number one topic we've talked about with people is UTVs, UTV laws, road routes and maps and stuff like that. So they're very, very popular, which is awesome. Again, like, I got nothing against it. I like riding one. We got a really cool new, fully marked, enclosed, heat, air conditioned UTV for our team here to drive, which is pretty nice. But you really got to wear those seatbelts, not only to save yourself a couple $100, but potentially save your life.
Jake, you also mentioned two early teal shooting hours. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So this was a good question from Farm Tech Days also. So that's what kind of spurred my thought on this. Was people were asking about the first hunting season coming up here is waterfowl, early teal, early goose, dove. And we were talking about shooting hours with some people because we don't have the Hunt Wild app anymore. So you have to kind of do the math on your hours in the back of the regulations. But if you get the hard copy regulations, which they aren't printed yet, they're all online. Everything is there online. They just haven't been delivered out yet. In the waterfowl section, there's its own standalone section on the early teal shooting hours because there's some special regulations for the early teal season. It's more restrictive because they want people to be able to identify that it's a teal and not a wood duck or a mallard. So when you're looking at if you're going to early teal hunting this year, you really got to go to that waterfowl section and check out the specific hunting times, shooting hours, both in the morning and the evening for the teal, so you don't end up accidentally violating.
Gotcha. Good nugget right there.
And it was a pretty common thing we ran into last year was people, we'd be sitting out there and they'd be blasting away 20 minutes early shooting teal or mallards, unfortunately, or wood ducks. But they were shooting away 20 minutes early, and when we went and talked with them, and sometimes they didn't even look at the rigs, but when we explained where they were, they had no idea. So it's just a good reminder, if you're going to get out right away, make sure to dive into those rigs, find those special rules and regulations, so you don't accidentally commit a violation.
Mm-hmm. Good nugget right there too. So, hey, are you going back to Farm Tech Days today at all, or are you?
I am. Okay. I'm going to pull the afternoon shift to close it down. Kind of luckily, I don't have to go walk through the rain to get to my booth or anything. But we'll see if it's raining this afternoon when I got to put it all away and drive all the machines into the trailer and such.
Gotcha. Well, at least you get to drive all.
But it's
those.
been good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is fun to drive.
Hey, Jake.
But it's been good out there. It's been fun. So a lot of good questions have come in out there. A lot of people have stopped by and said hi, and hopefully it's been the same for Bob and such. It's a good time.
Absolutely. Don't let Bob drive one of those if you see him. So even if he offers to help you, so just don't do that.
Don't worry.
Jake, we appreciate it, buddy. As always, stay safe out there. Enjoy the last day at Farm Tech Days, and we'll catch up with you again next week. Okay, bud?
Yeah, that sounds great. Thanks, man.
You got it. There you go. Jake Boakes, Conservation Warden for the state of Wisconsin, for our outdoor tidbits this morning. We'll take our final break here, and then we've got some picks and predicts. We'll wrap up things after these few words. Time to wrap up things here this morning. Making some picks, I should say. Picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room, located in Eau Claire, right next to the Banbury Place. You can also start to pre-register. Can't make picks yet, but you can go to our website, sportstalk1051.com, and click on the Fan Cave tab. Scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you can start to pre-register for our very popular Pro Football Weekly Pick'em Challenge. Our Pro Football Weekly Pick'em Challenge. Looks like you can start to make game picks on the 21st, but you can pre-register right now. That way you won't forget. But it's our picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room this morning. Let's do some baseball games here. Not a lot here, a lot of getaway days here, but let's start off with Atlanta, San Francisco. Atlanta getting a 13-2 victory yesterday. Max Fried versus Logan Webb. I'll go with the Giants to win today. We've got Boston at Baltimore. I'm going to go with Baltimore. Minnesota starting a series against the Rangers of Texas. I'll go with Minnesota in the game tonight. Seattle at Detroit. I'll go Seattle for that one. And then finally, the Dodgers in Milwaukee. You know what? It worked yesterday, so I'm going to do it again. I'll go Dodgers. And hopefully they use that as motivation. I'm going to go reverse psychology over there. So, again, that's your picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room here this morning. All right. Let's do – I saw this. Thank you to this was from Ben who sent this over. So ESPN ranked their top 100 college football players in this season. One Badger made the list. Ricardo Hallman, corner, 7 interceptions last year. Just reading a little bit here, it says his journey has been one to watch after being a redshirt freshman who barely got any snaps during his first 2 seasons. Ricardo made a leap last year. The Miami native secured a starting spot in the Badger secondary and tallied a nation-leading 7 interceptions on his way to All-American status. Going into his junior season, Ricardo somehow remains one of the more underrated defenders and players in college football and should be primed for another big year. You can go through the whole list if you want. That's at the mothership, ESPN.com. The highest ranked quarterback. So the highest ranked players are actually a couple of defensive linemen. You got a defensive end, James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee, Mason Graham from Michigan, defensive tackle, Travis Hunter, one of Dion's guys over there, is number 3. The highest rated quarterback is Carson Beck from Georgia. Coming in at number 7. Just trying to see where do they have Dion's kid, Shedeur Sanders at. Is he in the top? It's not in the top 20, it looks like. Oh, 24. He's the 3rd highest rated quarterback. Quinn Ewers is at 23, and then Shedeur is at 24. So, all right. That kind of interesting. I always like those kind of lists once in a while. I mean, I don't take them too seriously, but I like to, whether it's NFL, MLB, college football, basketball, whatever, just to kind of get a gauge of where everything's at and such. So, but it's kind of interesting. So, all right. Again, reminder: Brewers going to have a day game today. Little getaway for the Dodgers. 1:10 first pitch. You can catch that on the radio dials 105.1 FM and 790 AM. Tobias Myers, Jack Flaherty going at it. Brewers with a win will even up this series. It'll split the series, which right now I'll take it considering how the first 2 games went. So, but man, I hope we got another dominant, solid Tobias Myers outing this afternoon, and hopefully he gets some run support, a little bit more run support than what he did in Saturday's game, going a little over 7 innings and 3 hits, no strike, or 3 hits and 9 strikeouts and no walks, and he doesn't even get the win. At least he didn't get charged with a loss there. But let's get him some run support in today's game. So, what else we got on the docket here? This morning we talked a little green and gold. Packers are going to be set for a joint practice with the Denver Broncos. Again, a lot of these joint practices, you're seeing more teams do joint practices, but now you're seeing more teams kind of trying to eliminate fights. I mean, you've got coaches. I know everybody's talking about Jared Mayo, but other coaches have employed the same philosophy. If you are a starter and you start a fight, you're playing in the preseason. And if you're a bench player or a backup and you start a fight, you're not playing in the preseason, which makes total sense. Starters don't want to play, so you're going to be forced to play. And if you're a backup, you want to play to earn a job, and then you're not going to play. But then, Matt LaFleur said that they're not going to do one-on-ones, pass rushers, offensive linemen, wide receivers, corners to eliminate fighting. So it's interesting where it seems like we're having an increase in joint practices, but really trying to dial it back too, just to avoid fights and all that sort of stuff. So, but because of this too, that we're not going to see Jordan Love in this preseason game against the Broncos. Not sure if that means we won't see Jordan Love with Baltimore since they're having joint practices there. But I don't know. We'll see. Be nice to see him on the field a little bit. Just it's at home, and we'll be there too. So, but it is what it is at this point. Don't want him to get hurt and then useless game, right? Badgers. We talked a little bit about it. Tyler Van Dyke announced as the starting quarterback for this year. Again, I don't think it was that big of a surprise. It's now just officially official. I mean, maybe the biggest surprise was that it took a little bit longer to officially announce it. But again, it shouldn't be surprising. Nobody should be like, oh, wow, I can't believe they did that over Braden Locke. No, I mean, transfer over from Miami. As soon as that was announced, you kind of figured he was the leader in the club, or maybe got some assurances he was going to be the starter for this year. So, but Tyler Van Dyke officially the starting quarterback for the Wisconsin Badger football team this season. Aaron Judge, the fastest to 300 home runs. A quick update on our poll question for that. We threw out a fun poll question. I mean, at least I thought it was kind of fun, but it's running away right now. So Judge or Ohtani, 80% on Facebook going with Aaron Judge. Well, I guess backtrack. The question is, who will have the most career home runs when their career is all said and done? Judge is 2 years older than Ohtani, but he's got 300 career home runs. He's 32. Ohtani is 30, just turned 30. He's got 208. Who will end up having more career home runs? Wide majority going with Judge. You're talking 80% on Facebook, 82.6% on Twitter. So there you got it. A lot of you going with the Judge train. So, but okay, coming up tomorrow, we will catch up with Mr. Brandon Berg, sports editor extraordinaire, Chippewa Herald. We'll do some local sports roundup. I know we got some high school teams that will be doing some football scrimmages tomorrow. So other high school fall sports teams practice got underway this week. So we'll talk to Brandon about that, get a recap on some local sports. Best of luck to the Eau Claire A's Babe Ruth baseball team going up against Korea today, too, in the World Series. So best of luck there. We'll catch up with Dr. Crow, little inside trainer. We'll talk about his quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, meniscus surgery now done for the season. So we'll talk about that and some other injuries that have kind of spiked up here as of late. So Dr. Crow inside the training room coming up tomorrow. We'll hit that up. Hopefully we're talking about a series split with the Dodgers, and then we're looking ahead to this 3-game weekend series with the Cleveland Guardians. Perhaps a matchup between the two gentlemen who will, I think, should win Managers of the Year. Stephen Vogt, former Brewer, managing the Cleveland Guardians, and of course, Pat Murphy with the Brewers. So we'll take a look at that series tomorrow as well. Dan Patrick Show is up next. Have a good rest of your Thursday. Stay dry, depending on where you're listening to us from. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Talk to you then.